and welcome to We'll Run For, a podcast for running, beer, travel, food, and anything else we want to talk about. I'm your host, Tom, and with me are Erin.
Hi.
Michael.
Hello.
And Diana.
Hey, hey.
So in today's episode, we're going to talk about what we're running for this week. We're going to share some listener feedback we're very excited about. Then in our main segment, we're going to hear about Diana's running journey. Michael will then introduce a new Would You Rather, and we will finish things up by sharing something awesome with you, our listeners. So let's just open it up. How's everybody's training been?
So I had a little bit of a hiccup on Saturday. So I was going to go out. I was going to do 4, maybe 5 miles, and I get not even a mile into my first little leg, and I literally fell down a hill and twisted my ankle and had to stop my run completely and limp back to the car. So I'm going out for a run tomorrow. I can let my leg recover, my ankle recover for a couple of days. And so that was me.
So you're concerned about me and my trail running, and then you went out onto the road and took a nosedive by yourself.
Well, Tom was like 20 feet behind me, so we watched it happen.
It was in slow motion. It was.
Oh
my heart broke, and it was kind of adorable. And then she was just like, "How? I'm hurt."
And did you help her up, or did you leave her on the ground like Michael left me?
What? No, I helped her up, and we limped back to the car because now I had an excuse to not keep running.
That's a good point.
I was like, "You can keep going. I'll walk back to the car. It's fine." And he's like, No, I'll go with you.
I'm chivalrous that way.
So yeah, I don't know what happened. We were running around a lake, so technically it was kind of traily. It was paved though, so I have no excuse. I don't know what I did.
Yeah,
I don't know if I my knee buckled because I don't have an ACL anymore, or if I stepped off the curb. I don't know what happened, but I fell.
Personally, for me, I'm just keeping my move streak going, continuing to run a mile at least each day. We joined a training group. What Diana was talking about, that run was with the Charm City Run training group out of Columbia, Maryland. So at least that'll give us some structure and some motivation to keep moving. So that's what I'm running for. I mean, that's what I've been doing.
We did a 50K last week. As you know, we're training for this ridiculous 100K that Michael planned for us in July. So we, are building our miles. So we did our one big week where we did a 50K. I had signed up for a virtual one so that I would be motivated for it. I will say that signing up for virtual races makes things a little difficult because it's a different mental challenge. When things get tough, you just want to quit. And when there's not a finish line and a medal at the end, it's a different type of race day. So that was very interesting and very challenging. Mm-hmm. I think I almost quit about 800 times during the entire run saying, "Oh, well, I could just do this another day. This isn't my day. I could try again."
Yeah.
Virtual runs are just full of excuses. Yeah. I find I have nothing but excuses.
Yeah. So that was tough, but we got through that one.
I wasn't even signed up for anything virtual. I just did it.
Actually, if he hadn't been there and said, "No, we're going out for the last 10 miles, I think I would have quit. But he kept forcing the issue that we were going to go back out after we stopped at the car to
As an aid station.
As an aid station. He was like, "We're going." I was like, "Okay, I guess so."
We got lost again. It was really buggy. Got eaten by bugs. It wasn't super fun. I got 2 tick bites. And then we did a couple big hikes up on the Appalachian Trail too. So those were nice. Those are hard though. Man, that trail is hard.
Yeah.
It is not like a walking trail. It is just rock after jagged rock after jagged rock after rock.
Miserable.
Hours of just watching your feet every single step, not even taking a break. It's a rough section.
Yeah, and it's elevation. So we did, I think both times we've done the last 2 hikes have been over 2,000 feet of elevation. And just being in flat South Jersey, we're just not used to that. So that was a little bit more difficult.
Like on our 50K, we probably had 100 feet of elevation.
Versus in 15 miles we did. And then we didn't look at the elevation profile for the course we mapped. And the last 2 miles were where most of the elevation was. So it was
steep.
at the very end.
So that was super fun. So anyway, quick show stuff. So we should be on almost every platform now. I think Stitcher's the only one I still have to get to. So Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all that stuff, whatever other podcatchers there are. I don't know. There's a million of
Podcatchers.
Pocket Casts, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We're on all those. Stitcher's, I think, one of the last ones that I have to do. YouTube, we're on YouTube. The audio shows go up there. And we're also going to be trying to do some live bonus episodes once a month on there. So you'll want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which I can, I'll post the link in there. And, if you're on Apple Podcasts, of course, 5-star reviews would be great. We had 3 this week. I'm not going to lie. 1 was from me. So guys, we need more 5-star reviews. We had 1 from Matt. We had 1 from NCS88, whoever that is. I'm not sure. Hopefully they left a nice review.
Nicole.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks. Yeah. So, so we had a couple 5-star reviews. Thank you. And if other people could leave them, that would be great. So.
All right, cool. So what are we all running for this week?
Well, for me, since I fell and hurt my ankle, I've been treating myself with cookie dough straight from the tube. So I've been running so that I can eat that.
I was running away from bugs, so I'm running for no more bugs the rest of the summer because I'm staying out of the New Jersey Pinelands until whenever.
Yes, please. I ate a half-pound bacon cheeseburger on Saturday night because we've been doing a lot of miles and I've been craving like a big juicy burger. So I made myself a half-pound bacon cheeseburger on Saturday night, and that's what I ran for.
I think a burger is like my favorite after running meal. It's like a burger and a beer is perfect.
That's always my post-race.
That sounds delicious. So for me, I was clicking around Facebook, and one of my friends liked this event, which was called Race Across Maryland. It's a virtual challenge. And so I was just curious. So I looked into it, and it's basically, it's a virtual challenge, like I said, but it's 250 miles over 60 days. So starting on Monday, yesterday, I have to average, I guess, 4 miles a day, which, it's a little intimidating, but we walk the dog quite frequently. So if I get my run in with this, and then with this new training group, we'll be doing some long runs on the weekend, and then also several dog walks. I should be able to average that and hit this goal. But it's really just anything that'll give me that motivation to keep moving. I'm pretty excited about. So yeah, it's Race Across Maryland, 250 miles, 60 days. And my legs are already tired.
I'm loving how some of those challenges are. But yeah, 125 miles a month is pretty solid. Those are solid months, especially in June and July, or July and August, whenever it is.
Yeah, all those races are coming out with all the virtuals.
Those are good. Yeah, they're fun.
It's good to keep you motivated.
Notice how I didn't sign up for that. We're in the same house. We do a lot of running together. He's like, I'm going to sign up for this. Are you interested? Absolutely not.
I'm doing the Tennessee one, and he didn't sign up for that either. No. So, yeah. We're going to move into some feedback. We've been really loving all of the feedback we've been getting. We've been excited to see everyone sharing and commenting on all of our content that we have posted on Facebook and Instagram. If you don't already follow us, you can go to Will Run or at Will Run for Podcasts on both Instagram and Facebook. Make sure you're tagging us in your runs. Hashtag us at #Will Run for Podcast so that we can share what you guys are out there doing and cheer you on. Some of the feedback we did get last week, we have Megan, who said that she was running for beer and donuts on Facebook. And then she also left us a comment on Instagram to tell us how much she's been loving our show. So we really appreciate that, Megan. Go review us on Apple Podcasts so that other people can find us too.
Nice.
Join me in reviewing us, please.
Ken said that he was running for sanity last week on Instagram. Kate has been sharing a lot with us. She's been posting and tagging us. She was actually our very first tag on Instagram, which we were very excited about. She was out there getting her miles in. She said Diana was inspiring her. It's great to hear. We love that. And then on Facebook this week, she said that she's running because she wants to be a good role model for her boys. She's got an almost 3-year-old, and she's enjoying their track days together. And she's really loving it. So that's really awesome. I mean, I feel like that's a great reason to get out there. Kids are really a great motivation to keep yourself healthy. You want to, be there for your kids. So we're really excited for you, Kate. And then we had Dean on Instagram who said he's running for cheesesteak wraps, which...
Ooh, that's solid.
That is pretty solid. I mean, I run for food all the time. And then he also commented that he's joining Tom and doing the race across Maryland, doing the 100-mile challenge.
Tom, upgrade it. You're doing $3,000 now. 3,000 miles.
Race across America. Yeah. No, sorry. The race across Maryland.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Isn't that what Forrest Gump did? Didn't he just run across America?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. There was a guy who just did it. What his name was? He called himself Real Life Forrest Gump or something. He had only run one marathon before and then did the run across the country.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was interesting.
Yeah, people are insane. Let's see what else we have. So it looks like Dale_A. He was out there running and maybe swimming, and he just did that so he could listen to us. I don't know why you'd put yourself through that just to listen to us, but thanks.
Well, the swimming part comes from because on his Strava post that he posted to us, he you know how sometimes the GPS gets off? So it looked like one of the lines went straight through some water. So
oh my God.
like
like right through the middle of a lake.
Right through the middle of a lake. So
I mean, he could be walking on water. Who knows?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That explains
I don't
it.
know why it does that. Sometimes I'll have mine on when I'm at the gym and I'm on the elliptical, and it'll just look like my GPS had like a seizure and I'm like in the middle of the highway. And I don't know why. Too funny. Nicole, she also tagged us on Instagram. She was out there doing her Rona run streak. So she's been trying to get, I think, at least a mile every day while she's been in quarantine. Dirk Feelgood on Instagram. That sounds like a porn name. Is that a porn name?
Could be a porn name.
It's totally a porn
nasty name.
So Dirk Feelgood on Instagram, he storied that he was running first thing in the morning to help with the stress of the day. I love that. He also mentioned that he needs to learn to slow down on his runs after hearing Erin talk about when you're starting out and you're running a little bit too fast. So look at that, Erin. You're actually giving some advice. Who knew?
I have never had that problem.
And Angie, she's out in near Chicago, and she was listening to our last podcast. She was really excited to start looking for a new race whenever those come around again. And then she also she challenged Michael a little bit on his urine fact about how sweat is urine.
Yes.
So
there's not technically urine in sweat. It is similar ingredients.
Oh, you nerds.
fact checked.
Yes, you got fact checked.
I love it. And then Amanda from New Jersey, I know she's one of Erin's really good friends, and she was talking about running in Baltimore and said it was like running with Erin. And she's still finding inspiration in your journey. And I love that. And then I think she was also with Tom and Erin when they were on their first fun run. And she said that Lake Montebello is still her favorite. So run in Baltimore with Tom and Erin.
That's when I told her that Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's, also owned Lake Montebello. And so it's Dave Montebello Thomas.
Yeah, that's
amazing. His real name.
Yes.
And I feel like she ate it up.
Yes.
But
that's
pretty amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, God.
People hang on every word that Tom says.
Oh, that's good. We did have a couple of emails. One from Mr. Jamie Hill from Kannapolis, North Carolina. We used to actually do a podcast together about Deadliest Catch. Then I fired him. And no, I didn't fire him. Just kidding. But no, Jamie and I used to do a podcast about Deadliest Catch. Just a good human being. He's running for himself, for his health, for his family. He just had weight loss surgery, and he was asked to exercise about 60 minutes a day. So he started walking, adding in a little couch to 5K, and now he goes out on his own. He's down to about an average of a 14-minute mile. doing about 3.5 miles now. So I've been watching him there on the Strava, getting it going. He's killing it. It's hot down there, so it's hard to get out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, he's just running for himself, and his health and his family. And that's probably so the Beach Boys. He's probably also running for the Beach Boys, but that's a different story. And also we had an email from Sean, aka Karate Chop. He is running for the return to some normalcy to the local trails. Things are starting to open in Massachusetts, so the trails are getting a little less busy. Hikers are less stressed, and he's enjoying his time out there. So it's hoping we learn to coexist and settle into the new normal we have. And, nice to see friendly waves out there again. Now, like when he's out on the trails, it's not leisurely running. He's the kind of person who bangs out crowns on Strava segments and hunts down the local leaderboards and takes fools out.
Yeah, so. he's tagged us a few times on his runs, or if you follow his stories on Instagram, you'll see him running 7-minute miles pretty regularly, pretty consistently.
Oh my God.
On the trail.
On trails. On trails.
Yeah.
So,
And he's my age.
No big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
So, we were a little overwhelmed with how much feedback we got this week, actually. On the, especially on social media and stuff. Email's pretty easy to keep track of. But I think we got to do a little better on the Instagram. There's a lot of tags and stuff we probably missed. So we appreciate it. Keep doing it. We'll keep an eye out for it and learn that we have to watch a little closer, apparently, because it was a lot of interaction going on. So it was really awesome.
Yeah, I forgot that stories go away.
Yeah, you only have 24 hours.
I only have 24 hours to look for stories.
Yeah.
So I know I missed a couple. I know we were tagged a couple times. It's very exciting. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
We really appreciate it.
All right, so let's move into our main topic this week. We're going to continue getting to know our hosts. And this week, we're going to hear from Diana. So, Diana, I hope you're ready.
Kind of.
Okay.
Well, you know me. I like to talk about myself, but not usually when I'm put on the spot to do so. I just like to naturally move the conversation towards me, but when I have to do it, it's a little intimidating. Really my running journey, I would say, I think everyone kind of has those stories where they say, well, in high school, I did this. In high school, I was a runner. I played baseball when I was a kid. I played soccer when I was a kid. I didn't do any of that. I never played a sport. I never did anything athletic in my life. I would say when I was in middle school, I was, I started to get a little overweight. Didn't have the greatest self-esteem, wasn't athletic, and really funny that, the chubby girl becomes the self-deprecating humor girl. I think there's a correlation there. So I think it all stems from me being chubby in middle school, but I was never really athletic. And I remember even in high school, when we'd have to run the mile, I would make up excuses to get out of running the mile, or I'd be defiant and I'd just walk. I had no interest. And, over the years, I gained and I lost a lot of weight. And then in about probably 2014 or so, that's where I started to really start to think about my health. So in 2014, I turned 30. And I think that was kind of one of a big kind of turning points in my life. I was just kind of looking back at my career. It was getting a little bit stalled. I was kind of unmotivated. I was probably the heaviest I'd ever been. I'd just gone through a breakup maybe the year before. So I was just kind of like the saddest sack in the world, right? At that point in time, where I was like, I need to do something to really get me motivated. And I actually didn't start with running. I started with Zumba.
Oh,
and
cool.
I started doing Zumba. And the thing about me is I'm not super coordinated. You guys heard I fell earlier today, but I'm also short, so I can't see. So no matter what was going on in Zumba, I was always right at the front next to the girl because I couldn't see what was going on. So I'd be right at the front of the class, half a step off from everyone.
That's what I look like when I do Zumba also. So I feel you.
Just ridiculous. And then, at that point in time, I would go to the gym and I'd be wearing I don't know, like basically sweatpant material pants and giant cotton t-shirts and just the world's worst sports bras, like just a hot mess. So I started doing Zumba, and then I started walking on the treadmill, and then I started running on the treadmill. And I wasn't even sure like what I was supposed to be doing. Like I would pump the treadmill up and get to like, I don't know, a 4, which is basically a fast walk, and be thinking, I'm dying. This is as fast as anyone can ever run. Why is this happening? Like, who would need to go faster than this? So it took me a long time to get up to it. And I talked a couple girlfriends into doing the Annapolis beer run in 2014. So that same year, I think I started working out the beginning of the year. By the time, the middle of the year hit, I said, okay, I'm going to do a 5K. Oh, cool. And it's beer related. So I was able to talk friends into doing it. So that was really my first experience. It was rainy. I was like, well, they're obviously going to cancel the race because it's raining. I had no idea that races even still went on in the rain.
I remember that. Yeah. I didn't know that either.
I was like, what? People go out and they run in the rain? Why would they do that?
Who runs in the rain?
Who runs in the rain? So I legit had I think a raincoat on. I put my race shirt on, I think, over my raincoat because I was like, well, I guess everyone wears these. That's why they're giving it.
Had you run that distance when you signed up for that?
I don't know if I'd run up to 3. I probably had run up to 3 because I didn't realize that you don't train up to the distance you run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I probably had run 3, but I started doing intervals. So I got really into really the Jeff Galloway way of running, where I run intervals. So over the years, I've played a lot with my intervals. I think when I started, I was doing run a minute, walk a minute, which right now to me is miserable because you're walking way too long.
That is a long interval walk. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's what I could do. So that was really my first experience. And then I started doing, some color runs. I started doing some mud runs. And I actually met 2 of my very best friends today in that Zumba class, Nikki and Nicole. And I kind of call them my running fairy godmothers. So they actually really got me into running. So my group of friends, my kind of core group of friends that I've had since college, I got them to do that Annapolis beer run with me, but it was like nothing ever again. They were like, that was great, Diana. See you later.
That was fun.
So I didn't really have anyone to run with, which I found out is really motivating to actually have someone to run with. So I met these girls in Zumba, and they actually invited me to do a turkey trot within that year. So that really got me into running. The bug kind of bit me. I signed up in 2015. I kind of made myself a goal. Hey, I'm going to do at least a 5K every month. And Erin, that's what you did as well, right?
Yep. Because I feel like having something to look forward to and have something on your schedule kind of forces you to continue running in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think at that point I started losing weight, and I was feeling good, and I had new friends, and I was meeting people. And I started getting into the Disney races.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
2015, I did my first 10K ever down at Disney, Princess half marathon weekend. I was too scared to sign up for the half marathon.
Okay.
So I did the 5K and the 10K. Nice. And I was like, no, I don't think I can ever do a half. That's just insane to me. Why would I ever do that?
Well, it is a huge leap, from 5Ks to a half. Mentally, that's a really big leap and big hurdle.
But you did the 5K and the 10K, so you did a back-to-back race weekend.
Yes.
Okay, so that's still pretty. Yeah, I mean that's pretty big jump, even just going from 5Ks to doing a back-to-back race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was down there, and I was with my good friend Caitlin, and we did a girls' weekend, and she ran the 5K, but she didn't run the 10K with me. And I got up early, and I left, and I went by myself, and my friends Nikki and Nicole were there, and they had kind of run separately or stayed separately. So I kind of met up with them at the beginning of the race, and we were taking pictures and stopping for photo stops. And I'll never forget, Nikki and I stopped for a photo with Minnie dressed as a princess. And the only time you can ever see that is at Princess Half Marathon weekend. And we waited in line too long. So the balloon ladies had actually passed us when we were in line. So I'm thinking, oh God, this is my first 10K and it's not even going to count because I'm going to get swept.
Oh God.
We should talk about what the balloon ladies are.
Yeah.
Because they were mentioned in our last podcast and we had a couple questions about what they were. So Diana, what is a balloon lady?
Absolutely. So the balloon ladies, they are at Disney races. They are the last people to leave the last corral. They carry balloons so people know who they are. And they're basically the pacers for the race. The unofficial pacers for the race. So they walk, what is it, a 16-minute mile?
I think it's 16.
16
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're walking a 16-minute mile. And basically, if you get too far behind them, you'll actually get swept off the course. So they're very scary. People are very scared of them.
Yes,
even though they're the nicest people in the world.
Yes,
They are. They actually really are.
But people like scream at them and like, stay away.
Well, yeah, and people track them on their on Strava, so they know kind of how far back they are and how much time they have. So
if you're into the Disney races, you know their names, you know who they are, you know how to track them, and you know when they start. So you also know how far ahead you are, and in the marathon, how much fun you get to have. Because at the marathon, you ride roller coasters and you drink beer and stuff. So you got to make sure you're giving yourself enough cushion.
Yeah,
absolutely. So they had passed us, and I was freaking out. So that was kind of the goal. We got our photo, and then we basically sprinted to catch up and pass the balloon lady. So I had a stitch in my side. I thought I was going to die, but this was my first 10K ever. And even though it's Disney and I still would have gotten a medal, like I wanted in my brain to really know that I had done this, that I had accomplished it, that I put in all the work and I trained for it. And the next day happens and it's the half marathon. And I had a couple friends that were doing it. And I just had FOMO the entire day. I was like, well, maybe I could have done it. I think I might have been able to. That 6 miles wasn't so bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Maybe I should have done it.
This is how it all happens to runners.
It's so familiar.
What a familiar story.
Yep.
So I was like, God, why didn't I just do it? I was beating myself up for it. When it went on sale, I actually registered for the Avengers half marathon out in Disneyland later that year. And that was my first half marathon.
Nice.
And I was so disappointed that weekend, even though, it was great. It was Avengers themes. I got my pictures with Captain America and Thor, and I dressed as Baymax, and I had an I'm Not Fast shirt on. And it was so great. I didn't get my coast to coast medal, and I was like disappointed at that. So it wasn't just that, like, okay, great, I got my half marathon, but then the bug had bit me, and it was, well, I didn't get coast to coast. I didn't get all of the medals that were possible.
Yeah, because at Disney you can get like with the challenges and with like Dopey
Dopey
you can get, or the coast to coast and all that kind of stuff, and what light side dark side, you can get all kinds of extra medals and stuff.
Because with the 4 races for Dopey you get 6 medals because you get the Goofy medal and the Dopey medal. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, and I found that was really motivating to me. So these different challenges really became one of my main drivers. So I'll just say a little bit about my first half marathon. I thought I was going to die. It was hot. It was the first time my hands had actually swollen, like gotten swelled up while I was running. So I looked down at my fingers at one point during the race. I've got little sausages, and I started crying because I didn't understand what was happening. I was like, I'm going to die. This isn't normal. And somebody next to me was like, no, that's totally normal. That happens.
Diana.
Well, I remember because that was my first time to Disneyland. So I went to cheer you on. And I feel like you texted me or something, and you were like, my hands are swollen and I might die, or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't help you. Not dramatic at all.
I feel like there's a recurring theme between the two of us where we cry a lot during races.
Oh, yeah. I definitely cry a lot. And it was my first time in Disneyland. So I'd been to Disney World 100 times. I was a CP, so I did the college program. I worked down there. But this is my first time in Disneyland, and I'm an idiot. So instead of doing my time in the parks after the race, like a normal person should do, I did it before. So my feet hurt when I was in the corral for the half marathon. So I remember after the race, I was like stepping off curbs and like basically falling down. Like every step I took, I had like tears in my eyes. I almost made Tom rent me a wheelchair.
I remember that.
Yeah, that first time you do like a distance like that, you really, if you know, for those of us who got into running later, you definitely really feel it when you kick up that distance.
Yeah, I mean, every single time you go down a stair like, or a curve or anything, everything just hurts.
I was like, is this what your body's supposed to feel like? But I remember the one piece of advice everyone gave me was, you're going to want to sit and do nothing after your race. Don't sit and do nothing after your race.
Just keep
like that
going.
Was the one piece of advice everyone gave me.
Keep your legs loose, keep moving. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, so that the next day I wouldn't want to kill myself. That the next day would feel a little bit better, and then the day after that would feel a little bit better because I just didn't sit like a lump. But I was feeling really good. I was so nervous about that half marathon distance. I signed up for every race possible to try to register for that and just going like incrementally up in distances. So I signed up for a couple of 10 milers, you know, the Baltimore 10 miler, the Annapolis 10 miler. I got really addicted to challenges. So I did the B3 challenge in Baltimore, which is the Kelly Street 5K, the Soul of the City 10K, and the Charles Street 12.
Oh, wow.
So it's like March, April, and then September. So you're kind of building your distance. So I thought that was great. And I didn't know that was a thing. So I think I just signed up for Kelly Street and then later found out, oh, hey, there's this challenge associated with it. So I just upgraded to that. And I just remember having a panic attack before the Charles Street 12 because it was the furthest distance I'd ever run. So I'd never done anything more than 10. It's one of those races where you kind of bus or you get dropped off at the start line and then you run to a different destination and that's where your finish line is. It was the first race I ever had that. And I looked at Tom when he was leaving me because he got up at, 4:00 in the morning, drove me up to the start line. And I said, Tom, like, what if I don't finish? What if I can't do this? And he just looks at me and he's like, well, just sit down on the curb and I'll come pick you up. And then I was thinking, well, yeah, I guess that's what I would do. Yeah. Like that had never even crossed my mind. And when you said that, it was like, oh, okay, well, then it's not that bad if I can't finish because he'll just come get me.
Well, nowadays I always think to myself, especially on the big city ones, I'll just call Uber. No big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Just make sure you have the Uber app. You're good.
But, I was losing a bunch of weight. I still wasn't super fast. I wasn't doing anything except running distance. I wasn't doing a lot of speed work. It was like I was following a training plan, and the training plan was, run 30 to 45 minutes on, these couple of days. And if that took me 2 miles or 4 miles or 3 miles or however long that took me to do it in 45 minutes, I didn't care as long as it was 45 minutes. And then however long it took me to do that distance.
And you were still running intervals.
And I was still running intervals. And I still run intervals today. They are just different. But I was doing 1-in-1 intervals. And I was still very self-conscious. Even though I was healthier and I was feeling better, I did a lot of races with friends in, 2015, 2016, but I didn't really want to run with anyone because I didn't want anyone to see me on a race course struggling, because I struggle on some race courses. And for some reason in my head, I don't know, I just didn't want anyone to see me do that. So we would go to races together. We'd take pictures at the beginning. And for the longest time, I'd run with my friends and we'd all run our own races. And I was more self-conscious about how long they would have to wait for me at the finish line. So I had some friends that were way faster than I was. So they would finish 15 or 20 minutes before I would finish. And I remember getting to the finish line and being so happy I was able to finish and able to do that. And then immediately walk up to them and say, sorry, you had to wait so long. And they never gave me a hard time about it. They would just cheer me on. They were so great. But for some reason in my head, I was like, God, why would they want to do this? And I'd say, you guys can just like, when you finish, just leave. Mm-hmm. Like they weren't just standing around getting a beer or getting like their bag of chips. Like what else were they doing? Like other than like, they had nothing to do other than to wait for me.
But they're your friends. They wanted to be there and cheer you on. I mean, I totally get that. Yeah, I mean, it took me a little while to run with people also, maybe not for the exact same reasons, but I just think that when you start out running, you're not really sure, you're self-conscious. I mean, for different reasons maybe, but yeah, you just don't want to have other people see you, or you don't want to slow other people down, or what if you have a bad race? What if they have a great race? Mm-hmm. So I get that, but I mean, I always wait for my friends at the finish if they're running. That's one thing I love doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, again, I was also running intervals, so I was a little self-conscious about that as well. Like, my watch is telling me to walk, but like, are these people going to judge me because I'm walking right now? Mm. And I remember even thinking that on like a training run where I'd be like in a neighborhood and I'd be on a walk interval and like a car would be driving by and I'd be like, well, I should run so this car can see me running. Like they actually cared if I was running or walking. Like so stupid. But that's really the stuff that I was worried about.
How did you get over that?
I don't know. I think it's that I started running with friends on training runs. Mm-hmm. So for the longest time when I was training for a lot of my races, I was running by myself. I do kind of maybe short runs with, some friends and we'd talk and it'd be more of like a walk and talk. But if I had to run 10 miles on Saturday, I was going out by myself and I was running 10 miles and no one was going to talk to me. And, I'd send a text letting people know I was alive or where I was going. But I was going to go do that by myself. So I think starting to train with people really helped me with that. And just doing more races with people. So again, I got really addicted to the challenges. So I've done like King Crab in Baltimore, which is the Frederick half marathon, the Baltimore 10 miler, and the Baltimore half marathon. Baltimore's such a hard race. They call it mini Boston. It's so challenging. And that year I was running it for like speed rather than a fun run.
On those hills too.
A lot of hills.
Yeah, there's a lot of hills in Baltimore. Yeah.
Didn't know that. I don't know. I was like, this sounds like a good idea. And then I'd always felt kind of crappy on runs, but I always felt good afterwards. And Frederick was the first race that I had where I actually hit a wall. It wasn't just me complaining that my feet hurt or my hips are hurt or sore. I hit the mental wall at like mile 4 of that half marathon and I wanted to die. And I just remember my friends had to wait, I don't know, 45 minutes for me to finish. It was absurd. I would think it was like one of the last finishers of that race. And at that point, I didn't care because I was so miserable. And maybe that was the reason I stopped caring. Because at the end of that, I was like, I don't care how you guys feel. I just did that and it was miserable. So you'll wait for me.
But I feel like the mental hurdles in races are like harder than the physical ones sometimes, or almost all the time, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like the physical, you can walk out like a cramp, or you could if you get a blister, you can kind of get past it and put it out of your head. But man, when you start getting that mental break,
it's awful. Yeah, I would rather be in physical pain during a race than mentally just broken down.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about even with the virtuals. Like at that point you don't even have the finish line, so you have to like really mentally, so to get through a race normally mentally is difficult, but then when you don't even have a finish line to go to, it's tough.
Yeah. It's miserable.
So do you remember your first race that you actually ran with people?
So I'm trying to think. I think the first race I ran with people was probably, it might have been my first Shamrock that I ran with somebody. So I ran with my friend Chris during my first Shamrock. And that actually, I think, is still my half marathon PR. It was that terrible Shamrock race that poured raining, and it was freezing rain, and it was colder at the finish of the race than it was the start of the race. And maybe that was why it is my PR, because I just wanted it over so badly. But
that was the one that sleeted, and they like made shirts and everything. That was I survived Shamrock.
Yeah, I have an I survived Shamrock. Yes. I have I think I wore a poncho for 10 miles.
Oh my God.
10 miles of that race I wore a poncho. And I think I finally took it off near the beach because it was so windy, it was blowing in my face. So I think that's why. But I ran with him. He said he didn't care how fast I ran, that he just wanted someone to commiserate with because it was so miserable. And he's way faster than I am, my friend Chris. He's done Ironman. He's, just a total badass basically. And I was like, are you sure you're going to do this with me? And I think after that point, I got more and more comfortable doing that. And then just not caring what people think. So just having those conversations when you're talking to other runners and you're talking about, well, I had a bad run or I had a great run. Everyone has had that experience. And I think really one of my biggest turning points was training for Dopey. And that's when I realized that miles are miles, even if they're garbage miles. So when I'd have to go out and run 18, 19, 20 miles, I didn't care how fast I was doing those miles as long as they got on my feet. And I was training with a group of friends. And at some point during that training, one of us would have a terrible run. So 3 of us would be feeling good or 2 of us would be feeling good. And the other one would just have kind of a breakdown. And we'd say, that's fine. We'll switch it up. We'll switch our intervals. We'll walk the rest of it. And I think that really just got me more comfortable running with people. And now it's honestly really hard for me to not run with people.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten to that point. And even learning to have fun. My thing has always been, Disney races are for fun. Every other race was a challenge for me. So when I was running in Disney, I said to myself, I'm going to get my money's worth. Yeah. I'm going to stop for every character stop. I'm going to take silly pictures. I'm going to dress in costume. I love it. And, I did finally get my coast to coast, and I did get the Castle to Chateau Challenge, which is the Disneyland Paris, and, a United States-based Disney race. So I was doing all these challenges and having all these fun runs. And that's, I think, when I really started to run with people. It was when I started to do that outside of Disney, where I think I kind of had that mindset change. Okay. And I think it was one of the first ones I ran with you, Erin. I know we weren't really friends, quote unquote friends then. But Bird in Hand, I did that with a group of people. And I remember getting there and I was part of this running group and hadn't really talked to anybody, hadn't really met anyone other than online. And I was still really self-conscious about my pace. And when I found out, oh, there's a group of people and they're going to fun run it and they're going to do 30-30 intervals, I thought, well, I don't really run 30-30 intervals, but I'm willing to try so I can hang out with these people. Yeah. I didn't know what to expect. I'd met them the night before and said, hey.
Yeah, that was a really fun race, though. That was a big group race, and everyone there was so friendly, and it didn't really matter what you were running. You could find somebody who was running whatever you wanted to do, and I think that's the fun part about group running is you can always find people who are willing to do what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I think just as far as my journey has gone, I've definitely gotten more mature. I've learned a lot more. Like I said, when I first started, I wasn't doing speed work. I was just going out for distance. But in the last couple of years, that's really where I've tried to, I don't want to say refine, because if you look at me, it's a hot mess still, but really really try a little bit harder. So I've worked on my speed work. I've done track workouts. I joined a training group through Charm City Run. I don't know, 4 years ago. And I just love it. We run Wednesday nights and we run Saturday mornings. And I don't know, when I only really run with them for the track workouts or when we're doing speed work or when we're doing hill work. And then we'll go out and we'll run on our own. And I'll kind of put my headphones in and run my own race or run my own training run. But just having that little bit of extra push, I think, helps me a lot. So I went through all of Dopey training. I ran my first marathon. That was terrifying. I think we already told the story of me drinking on course.
Right. That's such a huge step, though. Like how, like to go from a half to a full, because you had done a few halves, correct?
Yeah, I had done, and I think if somebody asked me, and Erin probably told me to do this as homework to actually count how many half marathons I'd run, because I know she did that. But I have literally no idea how many halves I've run. I don't know. It's been dozens. And we were actually at the Disneyland Paris race where I decided to do Dopey. And we'd seen someone on the course and started talking to her. And she said, well, I've done Dopey. And she looked like me. Like, she didn't look super athletic. She didn't look like the fastest runner in the world. And she said, well, I've done Dopey. And I think later that night we were out drinking at a bar, and I looked at everyone. I said, what do you guys think about Dopey next year?
Nice.
Of course we were drinking, and I said, well, I think I'm going to do it. So I always say that I decided to do my first marathon at a bar in Paris. And it wasn't even a first marathon. It was the Dopey Challenge, which was a 5K, a 10K, a half, and a full over 4 days.
Yeah.
So
You went big.
I went
most
big.
Most people just do like, oh my gosh, it's a marathon. Nope, Diana goes all in.
No, and I just kept thinking, like, this is going to be the only marathon I ever do. So I need to do Dopey because I'm never going to do it again.
Oh, there you go.
And do you believe that still?
No, because we want to do Dopey again in 2023,
right?
So.
Yes.
I will say, though, that while you were Dopey training, you were very dedicated to that training. And, you know, if you think about it, like, running is the great equalizer, because you can't fake those miles. You cannot fake the miles on your feet. If you do not physically prepare for your body to be able to take that much, you know, beating, you're going to fail. And it is definitely more mental than it is physical, but the physical is absolutely there. So I remember when Diana was training for Dopey, like it was her religion. She, you know, slept and breathed it. And, you know, I was very impressed with how she did prepare for this event, because it's quite intimidating. And I feel like I've unofficially kind of committed to doing it in 2023, and I'm already terrified of it.
This is not unofficial, Tom.
You're doing it.
I think it was a blood contract.
This is a blood contract that you and I signed, that I would do Dopey if you did Dopey in 2023.
Well, some like for the longer like Dopey and stuff like that. What I think people maybe who haven't run a longer distance or don't run a lot or whatever don't understand is it's a lot harder. The people towards the back end of the race are putting out a lot more and have a lot more challenges than the people at the front end. Like, yeah, you have your elites, obviously, they're going to go off and blast it out and whatever they're going to blast it out in. And then you're going to have your, your 3 to 4 hour people who are pretty solid runners and can get through it. And maybe it'll hit like a mental wall, maybe not, but But when you have, like, I'm not talking about the people who are stopping at every character stop and dragging it out for 7 hours, like some people in this room. But I'm talking about people who are really grinding to get to the finish and giving it everything they have for 6 hours, 6.5 hours. That is hard. That is like running any kind of ultra. That is like, you're going through everything. Like, the speed doesn't matter. You're out there for, over those 4 days. The last 2 days, you're probably out there for 9 hours just race time, let alone standing around in corrals, walking around afterwards, getting back to the bus.
That's what I was going to say. The thing about the back of Packers, too, is you're in the later corrals. So you're in
waiting
the corral
longer, too,
for a really long time. You don't even start until an hour to an hour and a half after the first corral goes off. So you've got that. Then on top of that, you are now starting later. So now you're into the heat of Florida or
depending on the weather.
Depending on the weather, the years I've done it into the Florida heat of the day at like 2:00 in the afternoon, still out there. It's tough to be out there for that long. No matter whether or not you're running.
No matter where you're running it. Yeah. But like specifically Disney, say, where you're doing the challenge. I mean, that is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really hard.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember I did Princess one year, and I was taking a long time to finish, and I think I got a text from everyone like, where are you? Why? I'm tracking you, and now you're barely moving. And I had found this girl who was just like hard sobbing on the course. And I was by myself. I was running my own race. I was dressed up as a character, taking lots of character stops, getting, because that gives you a little bit of a race, a little bit of a break. And she was basically dying. So I was like, I'll walk with you for as long as you need me to walk with you and just distract you.
Yeah.
And, I started just asking her a bunch of questions. Where are you from? What's your favorite ride? Just anything to get her to stop thinking about it. Because I've been there, and I've needed someone to talk to me while I was crying on a course.
Yeah.
So I think that's really and God, dopey training just sucks. I mean,
a lot of time.
10 miles on a Saturday is fine, but 10 miles on like a Tuesday morning before you go into work is just miserable. Oh God, it's so bad.
Yep.
And you really have to get out there 5 days a week regularly for training for dopey. I would say like at a minimum, you should be doing 5 solid days a week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was bad because I had started doing some, like when I started running and started working out, I was doing other things. I was doing like body pump, and I was still doing Zumba, and I was still doing like all these different types of activities. And when I was dopey training, I was like nothing but running. So I probably wasn't as, shape or as muscular as I needed to be because I was doing 100%. I was doing 100% cardio. I did discover, though, everyone says that chocolate milk is like the best after run drink. I got into, the dairy farmer and their propaganda saying that milk is the best thing. Well, I started to stop at McDonald's after my 18-mile runs and getting a chocolate milkshake. And that will outdo chocolate milk any of the day of the week. It was so good. I was like, this is the perfect after run meal.
I'm lactose intolerant. Michael is lactose intolerant. That sounds miserable.
Well, no,
God,
the McDonald's
so
one
good.
I don't think has any dairy in it. I don't even think it's real.
All right.
No. And I'm surprised that their ice cream machine was even working. So it's like hit or miss.
It's never working, but I'm a huge proponent of chocolate milk.
Oh.
And if I have to be the lone supporter of chocolate milk, I will be.
Oof. I would puke.
No, I do. I like chocolate milk. I
yeah.
usually when we're like traveling for a distance race or we usually go to a store the night before so that we have chocolate milk in our fridge when we get back to the hotel.
Yeah.
So
what do you have coming up? Do you have any races or anything? Any goals?
So as far as goals, right now I'm just working on speed. I'm doing a lot of cross training right now. So in 2018 was a pretty big year for me because I did dopey. And then 4 or 5 months later, I decided Well, I didn't decide. Tom decided. We were going to do a Tough Mudder, which is just miserable. They electrocute you. It is just.
I should have known. There's no metal. The headband. It was a mistake from the beginning.
It was just a mistake.
Although we did have a pretty clutch name. We had a team going up there. I don't want to steal your thunder, Diana, but the team was Muddery Nipples.
Did anybody get dysentery?
No.
From
but I'll let you tell the story, Diana.
But I love mud runs. I love them. I love doing Warrior Dash. I love them all. Tough Mudder's just a little too intense. So I was doing Tough Mudder, and there's one kind of leg of the course where I don't even know what the distance is, but you have to carry someone for a half mile. I think it's a half mile or a quarter mile or something on your back, and then you swap, and then they carry you for the rest of it. Well, the problem is that it was raining for about 5 days, probably leading up to that. So I've got Nicole on my back. I'm trudging through the mud. My foot sinks in the mud. We start to fall over. She's still on me. We fall over and my leg stays in the mud and my body has fallen over. And I completely tore my ACL. We heard it. We heard it snap. I said, I think something broke. And they thought it was my ankle. So the poor lady, she comes over and she takes my shoe off. And I was like crying and freaking out. And then 2 minutes later, I was like, well, nothing hurts anymore. I think I just panicked. I think I just panicked. So she put my shoe back on and I start walking. And then all of a sudden, every 10 yards or so, my knee starts buckling. And I was like, guys, something is wrong. It doesn't hurt, but it's not stable. So eventually we got to the point where we had to climb up all this stuff and I just couldn't do it. So I had to pull myself out. So it was my first DNF, my first did not finish or do not finish or whatever it is. Pulled it off, went, got my myself checked out, and I have no ACL in my right leg. It totally snapped. I said, well, why doesn't it hurt? He said, well, because it's not there. He's like, it hurt.
It's because it's not there.
So it just snapped.
Oh my God.
Totally snapped. He's like, that's why it hurt and then stopped hurting because it doesn't exist. So I had to go to physical therapy, start working on that. And I was going to get surgery, and basically I did a bunch of research, and I'm doing the things that all runners do where you don't want to give up running and have that 3 months where you're in recovery, or 6 months, or however long. He told me an absurd amount of time. So I said, no, I'm going to wait. Do I really need to? So I was running a little bit after I'd gone through physical therapy with a brace and building up my strength. And I still haven't gotten it fixed. I'm still running on no ACL. So I think that's really my goal, is not to re-injure myself. So I when I fell on Saturday, I don't know if it was my knee giving out and I didn't notice it gave out, or I don't know if I stepped wrong. I also, on Thanksgiving Eve this year, fell off a bar stool and twisted my ankle and was in a boot for a month. Man. I don't know. I went through all of dopey training without injuring myself. And then ever since I did my marathon, I've done nothing but injure myself.
Get injured.
So my goal now is to rebuild my speed. I've gotten pretty fast for me. So I want to get that back up again. Like I said, quarantine has put me in a state where I've gained way too much weight. So now I'm trying to get some of that off again, so I feel better when I run. But I'm running shorter distances and just building my speed. So I've got some speed goals, which is usually, it's not normal for me. Usually it's a distance goal. So right now I'm doing that road runner thing that you guys said. It's funny because you guys have moved away from that. And now I'm like, oh, I can be faster if I actually work and do something. Like I was like, the more I run, the faster I'll get. Well, that's not how it works.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Nope. And that's how I was treating it. I was like, I'm doing all these miles. I'm running all this. I'm doing all this running. I don't understand why I'm not getting faster. It's because I wasn't doing like speed work or anything to like make myself faster.
Yeah.
So now I'm doing things to actually make myself faster. But that's really where I am. Right now, I've signed up for a few virtual runs. Baltimore Women's Classic went virtual. So the city went virtual this year. A couple girlfriends and I are going to do the Wonder Woman virtual race and dress in costume and just do that on the streets of Baltimore. So we'll see how that goes.
That sounds fun.
In our Wonder Woman costumes.
You won't get any weird looks at all on the streets of Baltimore. Not at all.
Shouldn't be weird.
Totally fine. Well, that's awesome.
So that's my running journey. It's I don't even know what else to say about it. It sucks some days and it's awesome other days, and that's running.
Yeah, pretty much.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
That is a great way to wrap that up.
That's the perfect summation.
Perfect. Yep. All right. Thanks, Diana, for all of that. We love getting to know all of our hosts, and we can't wait to finally hear from the boys. It was the girls' turn first. Next up, we'll hear from the guys. We're going to move into the Would You Rather segment, though, right now. Last week, we asked the question about whether or not you would rather be smelly or you would rather be a braggart. We posted the poll on our Instagram and our Facebook. We got lots of great feedback. We had 29 votes on Facebook. 12 said that they wanted to be smelly, while 17 people said that they would be braggy. On Instagram, we had only 5 votes. Guys, we'll have to get that up. 4 wanted to be braggy, 1 wanted to be smelly. In the end, we had a total of 62% braggy and 38% are smelly.
I don't think smelly's that bad. Like after having a couple weeks to think about it and hearing all the arguments, I think I said braggy on the show, or maybe I was undecisive on the show. But right now I'm feeling like if I was hot and sweaty, I would deal with that. Not hot temperature wise, like if it was like hot to look at.
Well, Christy said that she doesn't really like to brag. But she smells bad after running. I can't even stand when she smells bad after she runs. She can't stand to be around herself. So she would have to start bragging. Amy says that she wants to know how this question cross-references with the last one, because last week we were totally fine with running with poopy butts.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, that's a good point. Yeah.
Matt told us he was concerned about anyone who would choose to be smelly, which got a very strong response from my friend Amanda, who said that bragging makes her extremely uncomfortable and she'd rather smell for the rest of her life than have anyone say to her, "Oh God, oh no, here she comes again." That's a really quick summary of what she put out there. On my Facebook, she had posted that the question was making her really uncomfortable. And she was definitely going with smelly because we all know how she feels about bragging. We have a couple friends of ours or people in our life who brag about everything. And I agree with her. It's actually not that great when you go on Facebook and someone's just bragging about themselves constantly. And that triggered an entire conversation on my Facebook between some of our triathlon friends. And I think for the most part, all of them wanted to smell, which really confused me. But I think that their plan was just to hang out with themselves. They were just going to create a small group of them, and then that was it. So if they don't have to do anything else, and they can only be around each other, then who cares if you all smell, because you all smell together.
I feel like it's a smart plan.
That's a good point. I'm almost thinking
true.
like we should also see like what the correlation to like introverts versus extroverts is.
Oh, good point.
It's like if an introvert is like, if I'm smelly, good, because I don't have to be around people, where I would literally die if I wasn't around people.
Yeah. I mean, my friend Jen was like, well, can I just preface it? Like, I'm sorry, guys, that I smell like this, but this is just how I'm supposed to smell. for the next 5 years. I was like, no, you
I
can't.
don't
There's
think
no
so,
preferencing.
no.
This is
Yeah.
just like a thing that like happens. Like you just walk into
I
a
don't
room
think
and you
there's
smell.
there's no self-awareness of it.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah. All right. So, well, this week's there's no smelling this week. I don't believe, if I remember correctly. Okay. Yeah. No smell. So, all right, we have our two choices. There's no benefit to either of these this week. You don't become super hot and sexy. You don't become a good runner. You just got to choose one, and you're stuck with it.
Okay.
So choice one is that each time you run a race, you are hit by at least one snot rocket. There's also a 2% chance it will hit you in the face. No matter what you do, you are unable to avoid this, but you do not contract any illness because of it. So there's that caveat.
But you have snot on you.
Hey, look, it could hit you in the foot. There's only
just the consistency.
There's only 2% chance to hit you in the face. I'm just saying. All right. Or that's only during races. Or during every single post-run shower, you come to the startling realization that you have chafed a random part of your body. It's random, but it causes an extreme stinging every single post-run shower. There's no scarring or permanent damage. You don't get like calloused nipples or anything. It could be your butt cheek gets chafed. It could be your armpit. I mean, who knows? It could be anything. It's random.
But every single time I get into the shower.
Every single post-run shower. Every single one. Whereas the snot rocket is only every race. So if you run like 5 races a year, it's really unlikely that you're going to get hit in the face with a snot rocket.
Yeah, I run a lot. I run races less. I think I feel the snot rocket is going to have to be my choice this time because, I mean, I run like 5 days a week. I can't I don't want to feel the burn of a chafe every 5 days a week.
No, I mean, you could get hit in the face with a big snot rocket.
But there's only 2% chance of that happening. So, I mean,
every
if we're talking
single race, yeah.
If we're talking like I run 10 races.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Then it might only happen once.
Or none. Yeah.
Or none.
Most likely it won't happen at all. Yeah.
See? I mean, I can deal with a snot rocket on my foot or my arm, I think.
All right. So, Erin, your team snot rocket.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking about like big, chunky, like thick snot
random.
rockets?
It's all random.
God.
It's also the most satisfying thing if you shoot out a snot rocket when you're running. Yeah. I'll tell you.
Maybe it's Tom's. What if it gets caught in your hair?
Oh God!
You should be.
Oh, that's really gross.
So
okay. Tom, you've had a strong reaction every single time.
I'm telling you, I'm definitely team snot rocket. Just from a numbers game perspective.
Just statistically speaking, it's better.
Statistically, yeah, I'm all about the snot rocket.
Oh, it's so gross. Like the idea of a snot rocket, I'm like getting sick to my stomach right now, like thinking about it and like imagining it on my body. Plus, I'm like a bigger girl, right? So like every time I run, I chafe, honestly. Like it's new and exciting places every run where I'm going to chafe. Like a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, I've developed some back fat. That's going to chafe now. So that's where I am, where I'm chafing pretty much after every run anyway. So let's just keep it going. It stings for a minute and then it's fine.
Oh, there you go.
Really?
Okay.
It's not just a minute for me. When I chafe, it's bad. Like that, like even this weekend, like when I had something on my leg, it just like that burn. It just, you don't even want to like get in the shower.
I feel like I'd rather have that than any part of snot rocket touching me.
Than a random stranger's snot rocket hitting you.
No, because like
imagine
it like makes me gag if I see someone doing it.
Thick and mucusy.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate
Big
it. It's like it's yellow or green.
Hopefully it's not like a Silence of the Lambs scenario.
But you said you don't get sick from it, so I mean.
It's still gross.
Yeah, you don't contract any communicable diseases from it.
So I mean, if it's big or thick or yellow, then at least you're not going to get...
Oh, God.
All right.
All right. That'll do. Wait, Michael, did you answer?
I don't answer. I just create them.
Oh, you don't answer. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I don't have to answer because I come up with them.
That's right. That's right.
I feel like you answered last time.
He did.
I may have.
We made him last time.
I may have.
We made him. We actually did not come to an agreement this time, though. Tom and I are Team Snot Rocket.
True.
Diana is Team Chafe.
All right.
So we will post that again on our social this week.
Stranger Snot Rocket or Random Chafe?
Yes. You let us know how you feel about it. Make sure you comment and let us know why you choose what you do.
There you go.
All right. So at the end of each episode, we want to make sure that we share something good with you, something that we enjoy. It can be a new beer we've tried, something we've watched on television, an experience that we've had, or really anything that we feel like sharing. So, Michael, why don't you get us kicked off this week?
I'm going to kick off to a classic that started watching again this week on Stars randomly, and that is the Dr. David Hasselhoff vehicle, Knight Rider.
Oh, my God.
Mr. Hasselhoff is maybe the most macho man that's ever walked the face of the planet, and Knight Rider is like his apex of machismo. And I feel like it's an amazing show, and that I have a new appreciation for it. I mean, I'm going to start wearing leather jackets and rolling up the sleeves. That's everywhere. Everywhere I go. Yeah.
All I know is that all I hear is Mr. Feeney.
I was going to say, Mr. Feeney's the car, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we listen to it, and all I hear is Mr. Feeney.
Wait, Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World?
Yes.
He's Kit.
The car.
He's
I
Kit.
just learned that.
Yeah, he was actually at the time he was on St. Elsewhere. He was like the main doctor on the episode. On St. Elsewhere.
Yes, but as a 90s kid.
Yeah.
Boy Meets World is where it's at.
Yeah. So Knight Rider is my something good.
So for me, I've been thinking about this. Just this. We're all other than Michael, we're all relatively new to the whole podcast world. And one of the podcasts that really got me into podcasts in general was this podcast called The Dollop.
It's not a tickling podcast.
It's not. It's called The Dollop, and it's a comedy / history podcast. I think they're up into the 400 plus episode mark. It's two guys. It's Dave Anthony and Gareth Reynolds, and basically how it goes is one of them, Dave, will pick and read a story from history to Gareth, and Gareth has no idea what he's about to read. So it's just Dave reading some ridiculous piece of history and Gareth reacting to it. And their chemistry and the way that they riff off of each other really got me into liking podcasts. And so that kind of started me on this whole podcast journey. So yeah, it's called The Dollop, and I highly recommend it.
For me this week, I'll recommend another podcast called 70 Millimeter. It's a podcast about movies, which I know they're rare, but they're out there. These three guys are doing it right. Tom mentioned Michael's not new to the podcast world. These are some of his friends that started this podcast. Every week they review a specific movie, but they're just three friends, kind of like the way that we kind of chat about running. They kind of chat about movies. So they talk about, what they're watching this week, and then they kind of dive into their main topic of whatever movie that they're going to review. They're super fun. You can tell that they're really good friends, and the love that they have for movies, and then the love that they have for each other is just super strong. So they're super fun to listen to. Their voices are very soothing because they've been doing it for so long. So there's no ums or likes or any of that stuff.
Well, that's because Slim edits.
Oh. Well,
just give the credit.
Right?
Just give the credit.
So with the whole quarantine thing, I kind of fell off listening to podcasts. So I have been back to work. I've been listening to them a little bit more again. So I binged about 9 episodes this past week of them. And this week, surprisingly, they gave us a nice little shout out. Michael gave some feedback on one of their episodes, and then they gave the Will Run For a little shout out. So I just wanted to shout them out since I've been enjoying them all week. I think I might have actually, after I said 9 to them, I listened to another 2 episodes. So I'm on episode 11 for a 1-week period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty behind. I think that they have like 20-ish episodes, and I listened to them when they first came out in January, and then March I just stopped because I wasn't listening to podcasts that much anymore.
Yeah, it's hard because you're not driving. You're like not in the car anymore.
Yeah.
That's my main vehicle for getting podcasts.
My media. Yeah, I agree. So
yeah, for me, my something good this week is Hysteria Brewing out of Columbia, Maryland. So just wanted to give a shout out to the guys and girls there, especially Tyler. He's rocking and rolling. So they actually just reopened for outdoor seating. They're bringing a bunch of new beer. Space Panda, just phenomenal. They've got a new beer called F Yeah. That's their whole hashtag is hashtag F Yeah, EFF, yeah. And that just comes from Tyler. He's like one of the greatest humans I've ever met. Just so funny, so great, knows so much about beer, but he doesn't swear, unlike myself. So when he says F yeah, it's not ironic. It's just him being Tyler. Or I just spew profanity. But they make great stuff. It's a great vibe. Really cool beer, really cool people. I know you can get them in most liquor stores here in Maryland. So if you're local, check them out and drink some beer.
Yeah, so I'll definitely second that. Shout out to Hysteria Brewing. They're one of our favorites. And we will definitely include links to all of our recommendations in our show notes. So you'll be able to find out more information about them. But that really wraps up this episode. Please be sure to tag us on Facebook and Instagram using the @WillRunForPodcast and the hashtag for your stories and photos with hashtag WillRunForPodcast so we can continue to build this community. Also, please don't forget to visit our Facebook and tell us what you're running for. We'd love to hear from you. Leave us a comment. You can also email us, willrunforpodcast@gmail.com. And then, as always, look for a new episode every other Monday. We really hope you subscribe and leave us reviews, 5-star reviews, on wherever you find your podcasts. And so this is Tom for Erin, Diana, and Michael saying thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
See ya.